Companies today are becoming much more risk adverse.
Oh my
They're
goodness.
definitely afraid of making a mistake, right?
So, when you think about selling, there are many different philosophies and ideas and perspectives. On today's episode, I got a chance to interview a guy named Greg Nutter. We talk about this idea of what are the three pillars of effective selling? Like, what makes a seller great? And there are three P's. And it ties back to his book, P3 Selling. And I think you're going to like it. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we have an awesome guest. His name is Greg Nutter, and Greg runs an organization where he consults with many different businesses, small, mid-sized organization who need help with their sales process, need a kind of the guidance, and need to get things solidified. He's also a fractional CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, where he helps companies with their sales processes and get the right sellers on board and just have a system in place. We had a fun conversation today, and we're talking about what are some of the three things. I mean, there's so many different ideas and philosophies, but I feel personally, just along with what Greg shares in this episode, if you can master these three things, you're going to be effective when it comes towards selling. Let's dive into the problem. Like we're talking about this is, what can make sellers effective? Why is understanding, I know maybe elementary to ask this question, but let's just talk about problems. Why is this part so critical? And if it is people already know it, why even put it as one of the pillars then already? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's obvious when we say, hey, we need to talk about problems. You're right. It should be kind of obvious. But I've worked with junior salespeople, I've worked with very senior salespeople, and consistently I see them talking about product. Let me tell you about my product. Let me tell you about my company. Let me tell you about my features. And the reality is, without the context of a problem that a customer wants to solve or an opportunity they want to capture, any discussion around product, feature, price, makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because businesses don't buy products. They buy solutions to problems or ways of capturing opportunities. And so without that context going in, like what problems are we trying to solve, then any kind of product discussion is mute. Like I said, makes no sense.
Let's talk about the next one, the point number 2, the people. So we know the problem, but why this pillar of people is so critical in your recommendation when it comes towards selling effectively?
Yeah, great question. So there was some statistics I cite in the book that companies today are becoming much more risk adverse.
Oh my goodness.
Definitely afraid of making a mistake, right?
Can we talk about that right now when we're recording, where people are, they had this whole, I think the talks are easing up, but, the recession loom and people uncertainty with the economy. People are really risk averse right now when it comes towards this.
People lose their jobs by buying the wrong thing.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah. There's some statistics I quote about how over the years, the last 10 years, we've gone from maybe 3 or 4 people involved in a business-to-business purchase up to 10 to 15. And these are not huge companies. Sometimes 10 to $50 million companies have, a half a dozen or more people involved in the sales cycle.
Yeah.
The other thing that was interesting to note is that on average, a sales rep has 1 or 2 contacts. In fact, a lot of the sales reps I've coached, I go, who's who you're selling to? Bob or Mary, right? Who else? That's them. They're the decision maker, right? And it's just dangerous. So the whole idea with the people section is that the more people that you can get to understand their perspectives of the problems you've uncovered, understand their perspectives on how they think it should be solved, and try to influence those perspectives, the better chance you have of winning.
So I'm great at identifying problems. I became a problem finder. I understood the problems tied to people, and I understood that people lose their jobs if they make the wrong decisions. So I'm understanding people and getting the right folks involved in the process, and I'm seeing a benefit here. But now my final area is I just don't have the confidence. I don't understand processes, and like we said, complex sales is becoming more complex. I really don't know how to do that. Guide me on how would you guide me or as a seller on this?
Sure. There are a lot of times we focus too much on the selling process, like I'm prospecting, I'm doing a demo, I'm creating a proposal, right? And so we try and decide what we should do or how we're positioned based. In fact, most CRM systems will do forecasting based on where you are. Have you done a proposal yet? Well, then we're 40%. Got a 40% chance of winning this. And so what I try to do is turn it around, and I say, it doesn't matter what the sales rep's doing. It doesn't matter if you're given a proposal. It matters what the prospect is doing. Mm-hmm. Are they putting together decision criteria? Are they doing? Are they looking for information? Are they developing? Have they got their head around the importance of making a change on their current vendor, right?
Yeah.
And so there's actually two processes that go on. One is what I call an individual process, where individual goes through 4 discrete steps to come to their own personal decision of do they want to support a change or a purchase, whatever. So each individual is going through their own 4 steps. But then there's the corporate decision, where what I call the compliance process, where we bring in the subject matter experts, the people from finance, maybe the IT people, the legal people, right, to do their due diligence on whether or not this is a good decision. So a seller needs to understand what the process is, both where people are, where individuals are, because where individuals are define what you should be doing to move them to the next stage. And where the company is, you need to know, because again, that defines you what you should do to move them to the next stage.
But if there's one major piece of advice you want them to walk away with from our whole discussion today, what's that one major takeaway?
I would say become a problem solver, not a product pusher or a product pitcher.
Hey, that was Greg Nutter, and those 3 P's again, it's the problem, people, and process. And you probably have heard different variations, but I love how he succinctly tied those things down. You got to make sure you understand the problem very well. You got to make sure that you understand the people, because those problems tie back to people. And then you got to make sure that you know their buying process. Absolutely critical. Oftentimes sellers get stuck where they're like, yeah, we're waiting on a prospect to do something. Well, you're waiting on a prospect because you don't know how to guide them, and you got to make sure you have that in place. Listen, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. I want you to find more of your ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to close more deals. But most importantly, I want you to raise your level of thinking and go out and do big things. Thanks.